for another morning art stream where I sound very bleary in the morning because I was really busy yesterday going to convention, and now it's also daylight savings, so I'm tired. I'm very tired, but I'm gonna keep going anyway because why not? Let's keep going. And in this case, today we're working on some character fills because I haven't done those in a while. Those are a nice brainless thing that we can do for this. Hello, thank you for coming. Yeah, excuse me. Lost an hour for the time change. This is apparently the last time that we will have to worry about that, because after this, province is going to permanent daylight savings. It's not going to change over again, this will make things interesting in terms of stream times come the new time change, because I will be, I guess, an hour behind or whatever. Everybody, I have to calculate it again. I'm too tired to do that. Oh, sorry about the bad ad. I've seen ads for that game and I have no clue what it's about or how you're supposed to play it, but shrug. If it's a shooter, I probably wouldn't be interested anyway. The one time I tried to do gun shooty game or whatever. Actually, it wasn't even a gun shooty game. I was playing Uncharted 2, because I was trying to okay, I should probably get more acquainted with more modern, contemporary games. So I tried out Uncharted 2. The max version of Doom. Interesting. Yeah, the one time I tried out Uncharted 2, and I got to the part where you had to do shooting, instead of exploring and climbing and stuff, and I just stopped because I wasn't having fun and it was stressful. So I don't think I can do shooty games. Maybe I could do something like Doom, where it's it's kind of layers of unreality with it, but not a modern shooter. Oh well. That's okay. There's plenty of other things to try. Although, what makes it a Mac version of Doom? Yep, a lot of game studios do that, unfortunately. They do the stupid thing. But alas, alack, again, at least we're never without options. Oh, I see. Interesting. I had no idea that it was that old. I saw ads and I was like, oh, new game. I didn't realize that it was, that old. Because, yeah, people did not normally go to Macs for gaming stuff. You went there to work on art stuff, which is why I got a Mac at first. And then somehow all my family kept Macs while I moved to PC. But, some of the first computers I had growing up were, those old black and white Macs. Played, Oregon Trail and Number Munchers and Carmen Sandiego on these old school ones, Sim City, the originals, not like The Sims, but Sim City. You didn't control any of the peoples, you just made buildings. That's how old I am. I'm old. Interesting. I'm learning all kinds of new things today. I did not realize that was the case. Yeah, I barely saw ads around for something or other. And I was like, oh, new game. I didn't realize it was that old of a game. And I guess everything old is new again. And vice versa. I tried to avoid a lot of ad stuff because I do use ad blocker, but you didn't hear that from me. If I watch anything on my TV, for example, I don't have ad blocker on the TV, so No, I have to actually sit through the ads. I gotta do it. It's true. What IP can we milk this time? Surely this one will work. Hypothetical Gilgamesh Soulless reboot. They could probably try it. Although I guess they'd have to, like, you know, I don't know, make a decently good Gilgamesh first. For some reason I thought, didn't they do that? No, they did that with Beowulf, not Gilgamesh. Also, that is the wrong hotkey. Could they possibly do a Epic of Gilgamesh reboot if it's too gay for them? I wonder if there's like a literature version of that I could listen to. Because I am not familiar with that. I guess, yeah, you gotta do queer baiting. Will they, won't they? They won't. That would be weird. Yeah, Carol's in trouble. She is not gonna come out of this well. We're on the part with Carol death. I haven't touched this part in a while, so I'm like, I should go back and do fills on this part. It's been a while. The only god you can pray to is me. And if you believe in Noel Angel stuff, maybe that's true. But we'll see how canon goes. The only god you can pray to is me. Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. You're boring. I do have a bit of a long conversation here. Doing the fills is just nice and relaxing for me because it's just like, just fill it in with one color and we'll shade it later. We'll shade it later. Well, is angry. You don't want to see her when she's angry. So it's always the kind ones. You piss off the kind ones, and that's when you know you're in trouble. Not that she's kind in this universe, because she's a giant scary beastie. But in canon, that's her case. Also, her antler borked. It broken. Beware the nice ones. It's true, though. Oh yeah, that could apply to Ralsei too, for sure. I've had that apply in real life. With, family members that are, very, very calm and kind and soft-spoken and, do not want to get into conflicts or anything like that. So, when that person gets angry, it's a bad thing. You've screwed up. You done goofed. You done borked. Hello, thank you for coming. It is morning here. And I am tired because of the time change. But again, this will be our last time change. After this, we're not going to be doing daylight savings anymore. So this is going to make it interesting in terms of my streaming times. When the clocks change again in the fall for most people. You just have to be like, alright, it's happening now, but slightly different for you. But I'll be kind of glad we don't have to do the flip back and forth with the time anymore. Always confusing. But I hope you are doing okay on this morning. Oh, there's always time later. Just the province, I think. I don't think it's the whole country. I think it's just our province. Apparently they've been wanting to do it for a while, but because our province does a lot of like coordinated work with the U.S. West Coast and stuff, they were holding back on it, and now they're finally like, never mind, you're never gonna get to it. We're just gonna do it. So okay, we'll just deal with it. I kind of wish they had done it after the next fall back as opposed to the next spring forward, but oh well. No, she's gonna talk back to the 20-foot tall reindeer. It's called hubris, baby. Or just desperation. A 20-foot tall reindeer with big teeth. Yeah, I live in BC. Yep. I guess Arizona does the same thing where they don't have daylight savings either. Or just like parts of it don't have daylight savings. Yep, antlers are always very sharp because they're made of ice. You don't want that. You don't want to get stabbed with that. It would hurt a lot. It would be ouchy. We'll just make a game of it. We're 6 hours ahead now. The dice have determined this. Get used to it. Like suggestions that will make the whole situation worse. Hooray! That is the main problem with daylight savings, is that no matter which way you do it, somebody's going to get screwed over. It's just a matter of what kind of people you're going to screw over. I guess we're sticking with... I don't know. They say it's permanent daylight savings. So basically, whatever the time is now, because we did the change just now, the spring forward now, that's what it's going to stay as. So we are staying on summertime. Probably would have been better to stick with the wintertime because, it's going to get dark at like 3 p.m. or something like that. Or not get light until like 8 a.m. I don't know what the time situation is going to be once it starts getting like winter. Because summer it's fine because we're further north, so it's light most of the day from like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. or something like that. But in the winter, I'm not sure when it's going to be dark. Like, do you want to be going to work in the dark or coming back from work in the dark? In the darkness. I'm attacking the darkness. So I hope I did their antlers right there. Oh, well, they're mostly off screen. I do definitely prefer more daylight to the like dark at early o'clock. Please give me my sun. I can't stay in the dark all the time. Even though I'm a mostly indoors person, I still like to have my windows open and have the sun come in. Alfie needs it too. She spent all day in her in her hide yesterday because I was at the convention all day. Which was a really fun time. I got for some reason I thought I got more stuff than I did. I was like, wait, is this all I got? I swear I got more, but still got a good haul. Oh, Saskatchewan does it too? Okay. I wonder why the whole country doesn't do it. Probably one of those things that's like, well, we leave it up to the provinces. Maybe the rest will follow suit, you know, if a couple provinces do it, and then maybe more will be like, yeah, fine, we'll do it, and then the whole country will do it. Hello, thank you for coming. I'm talking about being tired from daylight savings and how we're not going to have to do this again because my province is no longer doing daylight savings changes after the one we just had. Digital art's definitely faster, but I want to do more. I want to do more regular art too. I'm gonna try and start. Did that this morning. I'm gonna try and start doing my waking up drawings again. I stopped after my wrist went super bad, but I'm like, okay, I wanted to get back to that. I was doing color versions and try and do some more of those. Oh, okay. I'll do GPC and Cambot. Let me switch over. Let's see. There she is. Okay. Oop, see where I can find room for them. Put them over there, here in the corner. I think we can fit them in the corner here. There she is. I can't remember what parts GPC is made out of. She's so cute. She has her long tube. Yeah, I kind of prefer her coming from the ceiling instead of from the ground. Bit less of a mess. There's a little light bulb. And Cambot. So this way we can have them on like opposite sides of the theater, or opposite sides of the picture. Woo! Cambot. GPC. Tom Servo. Grow. Here we go. Got them both. Kimba, you're on. Oh my stars, exactly. Richard Basehart. Although she's not into Richard Basehart anymore, is she? Yeah. It's because it's pretty quiet. I'm different. Oh, you changed your bowling pin. Smart. Yay! Now we have all the bots, unless we gotta start throwing in like Waverly and stuff like that. Although I don't remember as much about Waverly and Growler. The nanobots? I thought they're just called the nanites. They weren't really bots. I mean, I guess they're kind of technically bots, but not really. Yeah, they called them the nanites. Years now. That's a hard question, yeah. Because I imagine, like, for some countries, depending on where you are, you know, in terms of latitude or whatever, it might be more beneficial to have either the summer or the winter hours. So stuff changes whether you're further north or further south. Yay, Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. That's a fun episode. Let's get IT help from Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. We demand that you set up a delicious buffet. That movie really hated anteaters, I know. Lay off the anteaters, public access weird movie. Starring Raul Julia. Come as you are to my mall, to my atrium, yeah, yeah. I didn't want to bingle or boggle the Fingal Doppel. So the stuff they did with his name. It's so funny. Never show a good movie in the middle of your crappy movie. Oh, what did the girl with mustard hands say? You could have gotten mustard all over his brain. And Children of the Damned Day at the Brain Institute. I hope she at least had a fun time filming this bad movie, being child with mustard hands touching people's brains. If you haven't seen this episode of MST3K, you probably have no clue what we're talking about. Odd movie. I wonder how hard it is to get the rights to, like, those public access movies. Haven't they done quite a few riffs on recent sci-fi movies? I don't know. I don't know. They did for season 13. Okay. Like, I know they did some, like, sci-fi ripoffs, like they did Atlantic Rim, which is basically a ripoff of Pacific Rim. And of course, Mac and Me is a ripoff of E.T. I know, I'm so sad. Where is Autumn Blaze's song? That's the one I worked on. Yeah, I wanted to get her a sticker at the convention yesterday, but they were out of Autumn Blaze, so I got the cool Applejack one instead. Yeah, Mike did plenty of more recent movies. Wasn't just the old black and white ones. Oh, I'm the little girl with the mustard hands. I guess that's all that needs to be said. Oh yeah, like there's plenty of bad 90s movies people could pull from. No reason why not. 80s flicks, yeah. Plenty of options. Ah, I was trying to type and it all went haywire. There we go. No, that stinks. I was wondering if it was a rights issue thing because of, oh, good grief. Who was the person who was the voice of Autumn Blaze? I should know this. She was the star of, like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. That was her, like, celebrity status, which was already, a musical, TV show. So I think she, just sang the song herself. I don't think there was a separate singer. Noelle's gonna get the munchies. She doesn't normally like to eat humans as much, but she's gonna make an exception for this lady. Yeah, I gotta do some good black and white movies too. You could shoebox it, I guess. Maybe they got cut off. Yeah, maybe the MLP songs got cut off after so many seasons just because there were a bunch, and the Kieran episode wasn't until season 8. Yeah, what happened there? Rachel Bloom, that was it. Yes, that was who it was. That was the voice of the Kieran of Autumn Blaze. And I'm pretty sure she just sang the song too, because yeah, I'm pretty sure Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is like, that's a musical. We love us some musicals. And who doesn't love musical theater? I mean, does MST3K have to be widescreen? I mean, I wouldn't mind a shoebox or anything like that. It's not really about, you know, the picture itself. It's about the riffs. Yep, this scene is getting some fills finally. And it's like, okay, we can do this or more backgrounds. So we'll come back to backgrounds later. Let's do some more fills for now. Oh, that is a problem. That'd be kind of cool if, like, you could go see a musical, a theater musical, and they had, like, kind of subtitles for it. Maybe that's just not possible with, like, a live production, because you never know what might happen in a live production. Sometimes your timing is off. Well, not off, just different, because, you know, every live production is different. But that would be kind of a neat feature. Noelle on the boneless side of the chicken war. Giant spider invasion. Packers won the Super Bowl! Go Packers! Yeah, I guess that movie is pretty dark. That whole movie is just like, look at these hicks. They deserve to be killed by giant spiders. Like, I don't know about that. What was up with the Packers joke? Because I'm pretty sure it takes place in Wisconsin. Or was filmed close to Wisconsin. Either the movie like takes place in Wisconsin. It's something to do with Wisconsin, so they have to make a bunch of Packers jokes. Go Packers! Thank you. Not the sneezies. At least Carol's on her feet for now. Oh, I gotta take a break soon. Time flies when you're sneezing, I guess. And draw on all these eyes. And go a little further. Oh yeah, I think I was also going to talk about thoughts on Outer Tail, but maybe I'll wait for more people to show up. So we can have a little back and forth. Not soon. I mostly live in Minnesota. Minnesota! Okay, we'll get to around the end of this and then we'll take a stretch break. Yeah, oh my goodness, the ending for Outer Tail was, at least Outer Tail Pacifist was so lengthy. It was interesting though. The Creepy Girl episode, Ega. That wasn't the original start of Creepy Girl. Creepy Girl was, I think, in like Catalina Caper. That was where we first hear Creepy Girl. All right, time for stretch break. Oh, creepy girl, creepy girl. Yeah, Catalina Caper, not a great movie either. I mean, none of them are, but Catalina Caper's supposed to be like kind of a teen beach romp kind of movie. But also there's like a caper with like stolen jewels or whatever, but there's like attempts at humor and they're quite bad. Oh yeah, Batwoman is a detestable episode. One of those episodes that's like, oh, I can barely stand to get through this. Another pretty bad one is, despite the good title, pretty despicable movie is the strange creatures that stopped living and became mixed up zombies. Probably the best part of that whole episode is just the one gag at the end where the camera's pulling away and Crow is like, "We hope you've enjoyed No Moral Theater." Like, that's a riff you can use in so many different places. Yeah, Incredibly Strange Creatures. That's another detestable movie. The ones that just like have a lot of ick on them are the ones where it's like, oh no, the racism, oh no, the sexism, or both. The Orientalism. And that Incredibly Strange Creatures is one of those that just has like the racism ick on it, and the sexism ick on it. It's got both those icks. Ugh. It's got the icks. But that one joke at the end is very good. And you can sometimes tell when, like, oh, the old movie, like, this is a product of the movie's time, and just, like, has, you know, normal levels of that kind of ick. And then movies that kind of, like, make the ick a plot point in it, or, like, one of the prominent characters has got the ick, and you're like, oh, no, they were into this. Which does make riffing on them satisfying. Whew. In the ad zone. Well, that's good timing with my stretch break. Stretch break in the ad zone. Noelle's like, you're gonna wish you were in the ad zone, Carol. Escape to the beautiful ad zone. Where there's, I guess, ads for Marathon. Probably. I don't know. Alright, I will be right back for one more stretch and all that. So, BRB. Alrighty, I'm back. Oh yeah, hopefully I made their discussion interesting here. They do have a bit of an argument back and forth. Well, she has an argument back and forth with somebody. With somebody in particular. Because normally humans cannot talk to the beasts. That's why we have to have Ralph's intervention to begin with. Other Joel episodes? I like a lot of Joel episodes. Pod People's good. I like Attack of the Eye Creatures. The first one I ever saw was Cave Dwellers. That's a classic. Any of the Gamera episodes are good. Really good Gamera episodes in there. Oh, sheesh, my ears are suddenly doing that ringing thing. I hate that. No, there's there is a Godzilla episode, but good luck finding it because obviously Toho is very, very adamant about that not staying up, so it's very difficult to find nowadays. Even the Gamera ones are difficult to find, but the Gamera ones are very funny. Monster Go-Go is a pretty good episode. I'm sure there's others I'm thinking of too. Yeah, Iga's another good one. There's a lot of good ones in Season 3. I really like Season 3's episodes, I think. Yeah, I'm not even sure how they acquired those rights. I think they were it's kind of a weird situation that they're probably not going to get those rights back ever. Oh, I forgot this was the Smooth McGrew version of this song. Which I hope he does more Eldritchrune songs in the future. Also, one of the panels I went to yesterday at Vancouver was one about stress injuries from working in creative fields and stuff like that. And it was interesting. I feel like the guy, I couldn't quite follow everything he was doing, talking about, because it was clear that just human musculature and how bodies work and the strains we put on them in certain places and how one muscle affects another or his special interests. So he would just and I think pretty sure he's like a physiotherapist or a personal trainer or something along those lines, basically demonstrating certain exercises, strength training stretches you're supposed to do, because when you sit in certain positions all the time, basically it does things to your muscles. How Star Trek would handle Godzilla? I don't know, they should go to a kaiju planet. Yeah, I like Gamera. Gamera is really neat. Gamera is made of meat. We all love you, Gamera. I wish I got were they the other panels we went to? We did try some games out in the arcade. We tried out I don't think I've ever actually played this at the time. It was the original Super Mario Kart on the SNES. I'm pretty sure the first actual proper Mario Kart I played was Nintendo 64 version, not the SNES version. And I was not terribly good at it, but got by okay. And we also tried some pinball, which was fun. I really wish I could have done DDR. There was a DDR machine there, but I didn't want to hurt my foot anymore because my foot is still almost out of problems, almost out of recovery. So I'm stomping would probably be a bad thing. A horse stepped on your foot? Ow! Oh my goodness. I'm sorry about that. That's probably on accident. That would hurt a lot. No, getting a kick is gonna hurt. Getting kicked by a 20-foot tall reindeer going to hurt a lot and break some stuff. I don't think I've ever had a horse step on me. I've only ridden a horse like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. And those were mostly when I was a kid, so they gave us pretty, pretty slow-moving, kid-friendly horses. Stop eating jackets, horse. Horses are cool, but also always a little bit scary. Yeah, I gotta be careful. I remember if I know I rode a horse like a couple times at like church camp, and when I was a little kid. I'm like, didn't I do it also in college? I can't remember. I can't remember if I signed up to do it but didn't do it, or if I actually did ride another horse. But at this point, it's been a year since I have been on a horse, and I would probably be quite nervous. But I have no horse training. It's been too long since I've been on a bicycle. I should probably start with like a bicycle. Problem is I need to find a place to put my bicycle. If I had a bicycle. Like there's places around here to ride it, but I need a place to put it. It'd be kind of nice though. It might be nice to do ride on a bike again. Probably is one of those things where literally, like riding a bike literally is one of the things you just never forget how to do once you know how to do it. Though when I was first learning how to ride a bike, when I was a very little kid, and my dad was trying to like train me, like, okay, we have this big open field here, big hills for you to try and just coast down on your bike, and there was like a big flagpole in the middle of this field, and somehow I managed to like coast my bike down this hill, this otherwise open field, directly into the flagpole. It was literally like Lisa Belcher from Bob's Burgers, just driving the car into another car. Oh no. Did you start with training wheels, or did they go straight into like a regular 2-wheeled bike? Because training wheels can be helpful, at least if you're a kid and you're still trying to learn how to like balance yourself, kind of thing. And then once you feel comfortable balancing on the bike, you can take those off. I used to ride my bike to school, actually, because at least when I was a kid growing up, schools were close enough that my parents were like, we don't need to drive you. We have to go to work. You can walk or ride your bike to school. So some days I did ride my bike, and I probably wasn't riding it that safely in certain points. I would just kind of speed down a hill where a car might have been coming, but usually it worked out okay. Yeah, I used to walk to school or ride my bike to school. I very rarely took a car. Ooh, horse riding program. I probably could have done horse riding in high school. I'm pretty sure there was like an equestrian center that was close to the high school, and when I'd signed up, could have done horseback riding, but I never did that. Probably would have required too much extra involvement, which I didn't want to do more in PE than I had to. Yeah, I've never ridden a pony though. I've also never gotten to ride like another animal aside from a horse. Like my brothers got to ride on a camel once. I didn't get to ride on a camel. And apparently the funky thing about when you ride on a camel is like, okay, the camel is sitting down to let you get on it. Because camels are pretty big animals. So my brothers were on this camel. And the thing about camels is that they stand up back feet first. So, you know, the camel's sitting, my brothers are on it, and then it just whoop, like you're suddenly falling forward because the camel's getting up back feet first. And then it whoop, then it does the other half. Camels are spitters, true. They are funky guys. Probably be nice to take care of some horses. Especially if you like horses already. It's like, okay, you get to brush them and feed them and stuff like that. That's nice. Need so much space for horses. So I will just take care of a lizard instead. Lizards do not need a lot of space. They need a decently sized box and proper temperatures, and they're happy. Also proper humidity too. I'm so frustrated. I like my temperature humidity detector things stopped working, and the place that I usually bought them doesn't sell them anymore, so I'm not sure where to get a decent replacement for my temperature and humidity checkers. I do like this. Boss battle song. This isn't a random guy. It's Rudy. What do you mean random guy? It's Rudy. He is also here. Also in trouble. Yeah, it's Rudy. He's got the long face. He's got kind of the freckle haircut. He's got the little facial hair. Yeah, he's got the mustache. Rudy has like a very thin mustache. Yeah, probably looks a little better in other panels, but he's not in great shape at the moment. He's not doing well. Well, neither is Carol. A random Rudy looks on in horror. Not even a random Rudy. He's supposed to be here. He's not here by accident. Also, that's his wife. Of course he's gonna look on in horror. He married that lady. And you have to wonder, like, Rudy, how did you get together with Carolyn Cannon? Seem like such very different people. Maybe she was, you know, used to be a lot softer and then just got way worse after Des disappeared and all that. But it seems like she was always kind of a hard ass. Like, she didn't start soft and get harder. She, like, started hard and became harder and colder. So, what about her was so cool to you, Rudy? I don't know. Yeah, that's possible. It definitely seems like Carol and Toriel used to be, you know, on better terms. They used to be more friendly, and then since then they have grown quite a bit more apart because Toriel does not seem to be on good terms with Carol at all. She is with Rudy, but not with Carol. Oh, another stream did. Let's see. Tio, Plato from... Okay. I'll see if I can't dig those up. Yeah, I still wonder about why Asgore seems so quick to defend her. I'm like, you just saw her be horrible to Susie. It's like, oh, she's nice actually. I'm like, is she though? I don't trust people that aren't nice to Susie. It does. Alright, let's where is that? See if I can't dig up a reference. Okay. Bit of a complicated character here. Let's see. Yeah. Come on. There's good in her, I know it. But it also seems like she is whatever she's doing, she and Asgore are kind of on the same wavelength because they both got their conspiracy boards, which Toriel does not like. You're like, don't do his delusions. It's okay. Chris, turn off the Santa. It saves batteries. Chris is like, no, I must starve them by gluing their battery cases shut. I might avoid drawing this weapon because that's a complicated weapon. Or at least I'm not quite sure how that weapon works. Oh, it's a staff. Okay. No, she doesn't want to wear ribbons. Don't make her wear ribbons. I don't know. I'm not really sure if she's in so much into Chris as she is into the soul that they're carrying. I'm kind of a little hesitant about her goals and motivations regarding Chris. I especially if like my theory about the final the final prophecy is true and Chris is basically supposed to be a martyr. She's okay with that, you know. Okay with them sacrificing themselves. Which is why I think Toriel might be willing to throw hands with her. Can't believe Kara would make me do that. She does just seem way more invested in like the soul itself than like Chris's own well-being. guess we'll find out one way or another. Maybe she's going into it thinking, oh, you know, they're... You know, I can stop them from being martyred kind of thing, but... I don't know. Well, I'm glad you like her. She is presented as someone who's stuck in the past, but I don't know. I can also see her as someone who is putting her family first above all else. Like, I don't know. I could see her as somebody who's like, if I had to choose between keeping Chris and getting Des back, I would choose Des. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I don't have the correct read on that, but that's just my read on that right now. One of the Blorbos. Oh, I made it really big. Okay, we're going to have to size her down a bit. She can fit in here. I'll put her right here. There we go. Add it to the page. Yay! Yeah! Yeah. I don't think it's anything where like, oh, she hates Chris. She wants Chris to die kind of thing. I think she does sympathize with Chris in some ways. Like, there is still that, you know, that longing for the past, that family connection. But I do feel like, again, if she had to choose between getting her own daughter back and Chris, she would pick Des. And especially if there's some element there where Chris feels responsible for what happened to Des, and if Carol agrees with that in any way, that there was, like, Chris bears some responsibility there, then Chris being like, you know, being overwrought with guilt kind of stuff, like, I have to fix this, I have to get Des back, I consider being like, yep, I will assist you, you promised, I will help you with that kind of thing. But basically, if Chris is already willing to martyr themselves anyway for this, I don't think she would try and stop them, basically. Yeah, I imagine whatever is going on with, like, you know, the roaring and stuff like that, I don't think she wants to, you know, destroy the world or anything like that. I don't think that's the case at all. But if they figure out they can engineer this prophecy towards a means of, you know, getting Des back, restoring her own family, yeah, I think she would do that. Very different from Eldritchrune Carol, where she sacrificed Des, but that's a whole AU right there. Imagine having to trust your secret supernatural conspiracy to the kid that tried to starve your Santas and used to hide under your daughter's bed. Like, okay, Chris, as the only human in town, you're gonna have to use this soul thing. Don't be weird about it, though. Chris is like, too late. I am gonna be weird about it. Oh no, sorry. It's over here. We squeezed down a little bit to fit on the page, but we will see it in full later. Thank you for the request. Oh, Carol, surprise boss. I don't know. What I'm scared of, I don't think Carol's going to be a Dark World boss. I feel like she would be someone to fight in the Light World, and that's kind of way more terrifying than a Dark World boss, because... Good grief, what am I doing? There we go. Because she is not, you know, a fantasy enemy. She's an adult who uses katanas for some reason. Who knows what's going on with that? I wish I could have included her with a sword here in Eldritchrune, but we didn't find out the stuff about the katanas until, like, chapter 3 and 4. Because she's rich, true. She has power over people in the town. Yeah, we fought him as a boss, but we fought him in the Dark World. And also, let's be real, he just was not that threatening. I think Carol would be a light world boss, and I think she would be way scarier that way. Again, very cool, but we fought her in the Dark World. Like a Mori boss fight. Yeah, the Mori boss fights are always like a little bit more tense in the real world, just because it's like, oh, we're not, the rules here are a bit different and the consequences feel more real. She threatened to crush Susie. Yeah. I think definitely, at least in the case of Queen threatening to crush Susie, is that you know, literally right before that, Noelle says leave Susie alone, and so she responds with, well, I'm gonna hurt Susie, because she knows that's already what's on Noelle's mind. Yeah, fighting changes completely. If it was in the real world, fighting would change completely, and that would be scary because we know the rules of fighting in the Dark World quite well. We don't know how a fight in the real world would go, and that's scary. And again, like what's our weapon in the real world? Even if you know, you're playing with Chris, our best weapon is a knife. She's got katanas. Why does she have katanas? Yeah, I don't agree with the idea that, like, oh, Queen is, you know, reminiscent of everybody's mom. You know, she's all mothers at once. But I do think she is definitely supposed to parallel Carol, or at least Carol's relationship with Noelle, because Queen seems very focused on Noelle and her power and all that stuff, and it's, you know, basically things change once Noelle learns to stand up to her. This is practice for her being able to stand up to her mom in the real world. How Des remembers her mother. Very formal. Yeah, it could definitely be a warped perception of her mom. Although part of it's also like, because apparently they, you know, were playing with Queen and King and all that stuff as kids in front of Tenna, like get their cards and laptop and stuff like that all together to play with that. I always do wonder, like, when Ram mentions, oh, you always used to play with that girl, is he talking about Noelle or is he talking about Des? Because if he's talking about Des, then that kind of makes sense as to why everybody in the Dark World is the way they are. Because they're literally being based off of, like, Des and Chris's games. Oh, this is just one big panel. I'm staring at you. It definitely seems. I'm certain that, like, Chris and Noelle played a bunch together when they were kids, but I kind of wonder how much of it was their pretend stuff. How much of that was, Noelle and Chris making up games together, and how much of it was Chris and Des making up games together. You'd figure that it would be like Chris and Asriel mostly too, but Asriel seems to, like, not have participated as much. Maybe a little bit. It's possible. I think we'll definitely have to see how Asgore is, dealt with in chapter 5. Um, when it's not based, not a character based on the person, but the actual person is there. How is that gonna shape out? I do think Knight's making the next Dark World for chapter 5. Alright, I think I need to take a stretch break. It's stretch break time. Before we move on. Whew. Okay, you say that, but that is kind of how I played with my brother as a kid. Now, we didn't specifically use TVs or anything like that, but we would use various things, toys and stuff like that, like checker pieces or whatever. And we would give specific pieces personalities and stuff like that. We didn't play checkers with them. We took the checker piece and made that a character. We might have done that with some other stuff too. We'd take bath sticky toys or whatever, and just various random things, and do big elaborate stories with that. And I don't know, we didn't have much in the way of TV, so we didn't play in the same room as the TV, but we would use inanimate objects as characters, as toys. So when that happens in Deltarune, I'm like, yeah, that's how I used to do that. I used to play like that. Literally the first thing, one of the first things I thought after, chapter 1 was, oh my goodness, this reminds me so much of how my brother and I used to play as a kid. The only reason that would have been hard is because our TVs and our computers back then were such big pieces of machinery that you couldn't really move them around. But yeah, we definitely would make characters out of things that were not supposed to be used that way. So I'm not going to fault Toby on that, because again, literally after chapter 1 I thought, oh, this is just how I used to play with my brother when I was little. Yeah, we're not sure which person created which characters. Or it could have been both together. That's often how it happens. Oh my goodness, that's old. Yeah, our first computers were again those old box black and white Macs. I think we did eventually get a PC, but mostly my family stuck with Macs. We didn't have game consoles growing up. I think the first game console we actually owned was a Nintendo 64, and that was because some rich person gave it as a birthday gift to one of my younger brothers. So I even though I was in the proper age for NES, SNES, Genesis stuff, Sega Genesis, didn't really have those. We had maybe a couple games on our computer. And even then, parents were like, "You're playing those too much." So we did a lot of games outside in the yard, or with a big pile of Legos. Probably is a good thing, considering how much time I spend on the computer now. That when I was a kid, I was not on the computer or the TV as much as I could have been. We did quite a few outdoor games. I do find it fun whenever Toby talks about I did this when I was younger, and that influenced my stuff now. I'm like, I did that when I was younger, the whole take the church bulletins and draw game plans on the backs of the pamphlets. I'm like, I drew on the back of the church brochure. All right, I'll be right back for one more stretch and orange juice and stuff. Alrighty, I am back. Never expected I played Mega Man X? I don't know. I can see that. I mean, maybe nowadays, you know, if you have a game console, people are probably not going to use that as a character. But again, when I was growing up, when I was a little kid... Oh, no, good grief, another request. Let's see. Another Soroba. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. I'll pop over. On the Soroba binge. See if I can't fit her here. Let's see. I always worry I'm gonna get her look wrong. Nope, you just made it for Soroba. Let's change her eye, actually. Thing. Probably won't do a full body one, just to... Let me give her one. I don't know if I like that. Why is it on the wrong thing? Okay. A little thing back there. That would be sweet. Actually, there's probably a down here. Ah, come on. Younger Chris. Give him a hug. Ketsukane Foundation. Aww. Gotta help out kids. Hair sticking up like that. Let's see if I can't like that. Hopefully you can tell that she's hugging them. So love a hug. There we go. Got them big bear hugs. Those are the best kind of hugs to do. Alright, we have added that to the pile. Cute hug with Soroba. And onward we go. So yes, you did not miss the recent Soroba. It was added to the sketch pile. But good grief, what was I talking about? I forgot. Soroba made me forget. Blindsided with Soroba hugs. Oh, maybe I'll find a way to work more Undertale yellow characters into Eldritchrune. We'll find out. We'll see. Apparently I should listen to more Mega Man X music. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. I do have a Tumblr mutual who's super big into Mega Man X. He's like, I have no clue what's going on, but it looks neat. I don't think she, I mean, she would be a human. She would not be in the Dark World. Yeah, I feel like she would have probably a stronger link to the cult. And she would have to have the Kitsune mask. True, true. I'll have to do like kind of a slightly different version that blends in with the other animal masks. That would be an interesting twist. Oh, not my child. There is some stuff that I have to like work in regarding the things that Asriel finds out, and that's a potential place where I could use more Undertale or Undertale Yellow characters, since that's most of where I put them is like in the city rather than in hometown, because the hometown is right now is still just Deltarune characters. He's bearing them fangs. You're gonna use them eventually. No, I know what's happening with Martlet. She dies, sorry. She dies. Sorry, Martlet. Sorry. I guess she dies all the time in Undertale Yellow Canon, too. Yeah, she tends to do that. No. And she's just an Empire soldier. Not a good place to be to begin with. Yeah, very brief cameo, dies very quickly. Sorry. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I think because I do like Martlet. Martlet is one of my favorite characters from Undertale Yellow. She's so fun. She's got such a cute, peppy personality. Good design, too. I thought she worked pretty well as kind of like, not the Papyrus replacement, so to speak, but just like the person that's in kind of a similar position to Papyrus at a similar place in the story. Yeah, I don't know what I would do with Starlo. I don't know where he would be, or what he'd be doing. Again, if they're not a Deltarune character, they're not in hometown, so they would be somewhere in the Empire, but I don't know what specifically Starlo would be doing. Probably just be a farmer. like the rest of his family. A lot of farmers back then, so. Yeah, he'd be a random farmer, but they don't have cowboys back in this time, so I don't know what else he would be like pretending to be. Corn farmer trying and failing to become a mercenary. Hedge Knight. What specifically is a Hedge Knight? I've seen that coming up, I guess, with the newest Game of Thrones TV show that people are actually enjoying. But I don't really know how a Hedge Knight works. Is that kind of like a, loose knight? You heard someone say yeehaw. Who said it? How did that happen? They don't have cowboys yet. It's like a fake knight. Interesting. Basically, like, do you need knight services but can't afford an actual knight? I will do it for you. Well, like Chujin would not have approved of a human coming in. Yeah, I think Kanako would have to be around Asriel's age. Headshot a knight who lacks a land, a lord, or a steady income. Huh. So, almost like a European Ronin, I guess. Interesting. That doesn't have the titles, just has, or doesn't have the land, I guess. That's the important part. Fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah, I imagine mercenaries have been a common theme for various cultures around the world for a while. You know, it can be useful to have, you know, somebody you can pay to fight for you. They're more common in medieval ages. Interesting. Study more medieval history, I guess. All that stuff. Didn't have national standing armies until the late 18th century. That's quite late, actually. I guess that makes sense, yeah. The whole deal with that is, you know, you run out of money and you don't really have an army anymore. A lot of countries paid people to fight. Suppose that is the most direct way to do it. Okay, we're on to the next page. They're still talking. They're still yapping. But not for long. The yappings will cease eventually. Thank you, 1800s. It's so funny how that's then just warmed its way into our brain. It's like, oh yeah, that's the natural state of things, when I guess most of history has not been that way. Well, it's getting right in close. It really is kind of funny how through, like, there are so many things that, you know, people tell you, oh yeah, it's always been this way. It turns out that was invented in, like, you know, the 50s or something, where stuff that's like, no, this is new and weird and strange. They just invented it recently. It turns out that's the thing that's, like, been around since time immemorial. No personal space allowed for Carol. That's gonna get worse. Very soon. It's about to get worse. I do kind of wonder, in Eldritchrune itself, if maybe Carol had some reservations about the Dreamers adopting a human at first, and then, you know, obviously as time went on, and she's like, oh yeah, no, Chris is good. But I kind of wonder if Carol gave Toriel and Asgore a little bit of gaff for adopting Chris. It's kind of weird how they are the only human in town. I get the feeling that most of the rest of the world is actually quite a bit more mixed than Hometown is. Maybe Hometown is unusual for having just, like, all monsters. I know. I wish we knew more about how that worked. Give us just a little bit more backstory on just like the greater society. Interesting. Yeah, hometown seems very disconnected from the rest of the world. Which does happen often with some small towns, where it's just like, nope, this is the only thing that exists and matters. I'm sure that swap has been done. Village from Resident Evil 4. I'll tell you what, there's always something a little bit off about places that are not mixed enough. I don't know, maybe just because of where I have spent most of my life and grown up. I've grown up always in places that had some kind of mix of people, and if it's too homogenous, it doesn't feel good. It gets a little weird. That is true. Although I'm pretty sure that it's not a situation of like, this is the only thing that exists because it's a simulation or whatever. It's the only thing that exists for us because that's all we can concern ourselves with as the player. I wish we had time to go outside a little more, but we just don't have the time for it. Target experiments in a creepy bunker. Dun dun dun. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely seems like, you know, the comparison to the real world is like, okay, this is, you know, the New England area. Boston is kind of close. We do have a world outside of hometown because Susie comes from it, and Sans and Papyrus come from it. And heck, even recently I was thinking, like, you know, Rudy making his joke about, oh, you know, why don't you take us to the movies, Chris? Let's go to the movies. Like, they don't have a movie theater in town. They would have to leave town to go to the movies. So there's got to be some kind of, like, city nearby. It's Boston. Boston is the city nearby. Well, that's actually kind of the more suggestion is that, like, Sans is from New York. But with the Brooklyn-esque Brooklynisms, forget about it. I don't know. I feel like they must have gone a couple of times. Especially if, like, if the egg stuff is true. Where they went to therapy because of their trauma and stuff like that. I don't think that happened in hometown. That had to have happened somewhere else. I don't think hometown is equipped to give you know, trauma therapy or anything like that. So they would have had to have left town for that. Obnoxious Boston accent burger pantser Susie. Susie's got some weird New Englandisms like bubbler. Nobody calls it a bubbler, Susie. So I feel like Chris has to have been outside of it, assuming that some things have happened a certain way. Chris has to have gone outside hometown at least a couple of times, but probably not very often. She was ostracized because she called it a bubbler. They're like, you can't do that, Susie. Boyga Pants. This is my friend Boyga Pants. He's from Jersey. He's got such a dirty mind. Yeah, you can very much tell that Toby's drawing from experience there. Small town in New England. Weird, I live in Boston. Boston Harbor. I'm gonna see the Red Sox play. You suppose they have like separate sports teams for monsters and humans, or are those all allowed to play on the same sports? Do people get mad if like you have a monster as the pitcher with like really huge arms? Like, this is a disadvantage because that monster type is just has naturally like orangutan monster or whatever. I don't know. Well, obviously they play baseball because Des does. They play sports. They have monster and human co-ed sports. Oh yeah, space pinball. I don't think that's just New England though. That's just like kids. You gotta play pinball on the old computers. Screw it, let's just go play space pinball. I had a lot of Minesweeper on the computer when I was little. Also, it keeps referencing a skateboard game that Susie really likes, but I can't think of if that's referencing anything in particular. Aside from, like, just a browser game. Yeah, I imagine that's kind of what's happening with people in Hometown. It's like, okay, they can go to the movie theater or Toys R Us or whatever, but you gotta go a ways to get there. It's a bit of a trip out. Yeah, it could be one of those. Could be one of those. Whatever it is, I think it would have had to have been cheap, because I don't think that Susie like grew up with much in terms of like game consoles or whatever. I mean, I guess she has played Dragon Blazers. She's played Dragon Blazers too. So maybe if like Dragon Blazer is supposed to be like an old, kind of Nintendo system, could have played that a little bit. A real Dragon Blazers fan? Educational platformers. Is it just like a little CD-ROM and you put that on your computer kind of thing? Apogee? I did have this one PC game that was like a spelling bee PC game that I played a ton. They had fun little characters in it. On multiple floppy disks. Oh wow, okay. So this one wasn't even CD-ROM, this was floppy disks. I did play games on floppy disk a bit, but at least by the time we started using a PC more, that was when they had CD-ROMs. Oh no, Susie! I didn't know they would have had emulators back then, easy to get to. Yeah, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I did play that on our old black and white Mac. We had Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. And that was a difficult game because, it would show up, give us all this like trivia stuff about geography and history and stuff. And I wanted to play the game and be like, oh, I have to know this answer to this. And parents were like, we can't just tell you all the answers. Go look it up in the almanac. So we had to have like a little world almanac available and try and look up the answer to, the geography questions for Carmen Sandiego. And that wasn't like a software or anything. That was just a big old book. Go look in the book for the answers to your computer game. Go look in the almanac. So mostly when I played computer games, I played either Oregon Trail or Number Munchers. Number Munchers was like a times table game. Like, pick all the multiples of, 6 or whatever on the board before the enemy monsters get you. Kind of a combination of, like, timetables and Pac-Man. A little bit. Yeah, those big Encyclopedia Britannicas. Oh, that's fun stuff. Yeah, the funny thing about whenever we played Oregon Trail, you know, you could pick your professional starting out, and I would just pick banker every time because the banker starts out with like ridiculous amounts of money compared to everybody else, so you can just buy whatever supplies you need all along the way, and that's never a problem. And thinking back on it, it's like, huh, that was just capitalism, wasn't it? Well, if you already start with a ton of money, then the game is a lot easier to play, isn't it? Like, yeah, it is. Who would have guessed that? I was casual. I never wanted to ford the river because I didn't want to lose my oxen and stuff like that. So I always would, I would always pick like the safest crossing. Nice. You'll have died of dysentery. Maybe you wouldn't die of dysentery if you were a banker and could afford medicine. Like, shoot, it ended up being true to real life. Ugh. Yeah, I imagine so. I guess the problem is it's so hard to design a proper edutainment game. Because you have to make sure, one, yeah, you're teaching people things, but two, that it's like fun and entertaining. That's quite a challenge. Fun and entertaining and like age appropriate for the kids and stuff like that. You have to think about good UI, stuff like that. And again, there was another game I played. This is back... I didn't have this on our home computer. This was on the computers at school. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like kind of a reverse fishing game. It was like called like Something's Creek or Something's Pond. I don't remember exactly what it was. But basically, you picked a certain kind of fish that you were playing as, and you were given some kind of hint of another fish that would appear. It could either be a fish that you ate or a fish that ate you or whatever. And you had to either avoid the fish that could eat you or try and catch the fish that you needed to eat. So, like a little, and they would tell you, like, what kind of fish you were and which ones were edible and stuff like that. And you had to, figure out, basically, from context cues, which fish were food and which fish were dangerous. And there were some wild cards thrown in there. Like, for example, you could also get attacked by osprey, but you couldn't see them when you were in the water. It would just give, like, kind of a noise. And you had to know, okay, if you hear that noise, that's an osprey. Get away from the surface of the water. Also, sorry, Carol's leg. Not in good shape now. Big ouchie. If you got kicked by a horse, this is probably worse. Getting deliberately stomped on. Odell down under his fish only. Okay, no. I mean, this was mostly fish, but it did have some animals like osprey or might have had an otter as well. It might have had a river otter that could get you. And Carol next panel is like, ah! Which, that would be me as well in that situation. Tend to do a lot of screaming when your leg gets horribly broken. The Peanuts angle. If she were in Peanuts, she would have to have a adult Peanuts voice. Wah 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 wah. Good grief. Huh. I don't think I ever got that. I don't think we ever played that level of Oregon Trail. It was pretty much just like, you know, if you wanted to hunt animals, you had to shoot them and then you could get them. And you could do anything from like rabbits up to like bison and they wouldn't attack you or anything. Oh, I just realized I forgot the rest of her leg there. I fill that in. But I was not good at the hunting minigame. I never wanted to ford the river and lose my guys. I didn't want to die of dysentery, so I would just play as the rich guy who could afford to buy food and medicine. And then wow, how much easier it is to get to Oregon in one place, in one piece, when you can afford it. I don't even remember what disadvantages the banker had, because I know like they all had, advantages, disadvantages, but it was always just such an advantage to have a bunch of money and be able to buy what you needed as opposed to having to like hunt for it yourself. So, again, unintentionally educational. I don't think I ever played Nanosaur. Alright, when's my stretch break? When is it? I think it's soon. In about 3 minutes we'll do a stretch break. No, I'm sure there were some disadvantages to banker, like they were not good hunters or something, or if something broke, you were not good at fixing it or whatever. But again, the whole point of the banker was they had so much money you could just pay for the things you needed, as opposed to having to get them yourself. Even back then, basically like Monopoly rules, where it's like, yeah, actually life is easier when you already have a lot of money that you didn't earn. Even more unfair Oregon Trail. Mostly I just remember us running MS-DOS so that we could run the Scum engine so that we could play Day of the Tentacle, which was a great game. I think I still have some kind of copy of it. I could play it again, but like if you already know how to solve the puzzles, it goes a lot faster than younger me did, where I did not know how to solve the puzzles for Day of the Tentacle and be running around, with 3 characters trying any possible combination of things I could think of and not getting anywhere. Well, that's terrible. You have died of cholera. Ugh. Man, it's playing it off of the computer. I mean, that's basically the real stock market, too. It's all pretend. All pretendies. The rich people's feelings game. It really is kind of wild how, like, the person who actually played Monopoly, or invented Monopoly, and then be like, hey, look at how horrible capitalism is, because, like, it's really unfair unless you start with a bunch of money, and then it's just, if you have a lot of money to start with, then it's just easier to get more and more, and to screw over people more and more the more money you have. To teach, like, lessons about that, and then it just kind of turned into, like, a, popular party game for families. Like, no, you weren't supposed to, make this a family fun thing. This was supposed to be bad. That's another thing we did yesterday at the convention. We popped by the board game room. So I'm like, oh, it might be fun to play some tabletop games. And I saw these board games, and I'm like, oh, I don't recognize any of these games. There are so many board games that exist, and I have no clue how to play any of these. Like, except for, I think there was a Settlers of Catan buried under the pile. None of the games I recognized. There are so many board games out there. So many. That's impressive. The zombie-funded orphanage. We didn't account for this. How much Patrick Stewart is there that you can justify a whole monopoly for it? So I made that up. About to say, I don't think that would work very well. Alright, after we finish this one, I'm gonna take my stretch break. Get ready for a stomping. She gonna stomp on you. It's gonna hurt. Yeah, can't do that. There are a lot of dumb Monopoly variants, aren't there? And all of them will drain your soul. Commander Riker Monopoly. I don't think any kind of Star Trek Monopoly will work because the whole thing is that they like abolished capitalism and they live in like a, you know, perfect socialist state, where because you could there's no scarcity or whatever, post scarcity state. There are the Ferengi, but that's like a whole separate society from like the Federation. And even then, don't the Ferengi like kind of become? They go through like a workers' revolution and stuff. Okay, thanks a bunch for coming to the stream. Like the interesting thing about the Ferengi is that yeah, they're like capitalist nightmares and all that stuff. But as you know, the episodes, the show goes on, the Ferengi, you know, like they start getting into like workers' rights things and women get more rights because I know like the women. Ferengi women like are horribly oppressed and stuff like that, and then they start getting more rights. And interesting takes on it. Although it definitely seems like the Ferengi are more supposed to be commentary on like current day American capitalism, whereas in the future the humans are like, well, we don't do capitalism anymore. That's dumb. Y'all backward people. No, I know there's not a lot of them, but I do remember there being some episodes mentioned with some Ferengi women and like what they're doing, because yeah, part of Ferengi culture is that they're horribly oppressed. I should probably watch more Star Trek. Well, most of my Star Trek knowledge is gleaned secondhand from video essayists who are into Star Trek or. You know, friends online who are big into Star Trek, but I haven't actually sat down and watched that many shows myself. I think, ironically, I think the most Star Trek I saw was when I was living with some friends. My roommates were really big into Star Trek Enterprise, and so we watched a bunch of Enterprise, even though now apparently Enterprise is one of the worst options. And that some of the better stuff would be like, you know, TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. Stuff like that. Yeah, Rudy is also in trouble. Rudy is not doing well either. They're both doing bad. You have giant reindeer stomp on you. But most of what I've heard from people who are Star Trek fans is like the best series, the more popular series are TNG and Deep Space Nine, DS9. Yeah, Noelle's got reasons to be mad too. And unfortunately, if the 20-foot tall monster reindeer is mad, you're probably not going to get out of that one in one piece. Not gonna work out well for you. Oh, the other Star Trek thing I watched a bunch. Again, I only watched some Enterprise when I was rooming with people who liked it. But the other thing is, we had like Star Trek 4 on like video when I was a kid, and we watched a bunch of Star Trek 4 because that was like the fun one, the more comedy based one, which is kind of funny because it's like we're going back in time because the whales are extinct and we need whales to talk to this alien probe. But it's like that the fun of it is the fish out of water story of like, oh, people from like, you know, centuries in the future in modern day and how much stuff doesn't make sense to them and etc. But yeah, we watched a whole bunch of Star Trek, the fourth Star Trek movie. I think that's one of the more beloved ones. Yeah, no, Carol's probably already dealing with broken bones. Transparent aluminum? Scotty picking up the mouse. Computer. Hello, computer. Yeah, yeah. The gag of like the Russian crew member. You know, we don't have any more Cold War stuff in the future. It just comes up to a police guy and he's like, "Where are the nuclear vessels?" That was a good joke. Because you like that character. All right, I'll be right back for one more stretch and stuff like that. I'm back. Oh, let me see the art that was commissioned. Aw, cute. Cute. I love the colors in that commission. That's so cute. Nice, nice. Very bright, cheery colors. That's sweet. Okay. And also cute outfits. I wish I knew how to design cute outfits. I don't. I'm so bad with costume design. I think people should be able to click on the link. I think it should work. Yeah, it does look cool. Unless, is the link blocked for people? Because I can click on it. It's pretty. It's pretty. I do want to see Asriel come back soon. Come back soon in chapter 5 so we can see what the deal is with them. Okay, cool. And why Chris is like, no, player. Don't look at my brother. Don't look at him. No looking. Oh, did I say that? I don't think I said that. Did I say it? Maybe I said, can I see it? But yes, that is there for folks to look at. It is cute. I just don't want to mess with the windows and stuff right at this moment. Ooh. Again, I do still want something I want for the future is, again, for Asriel to come home and be like, and him have already found another partner. Because it's obviously clear that, like, he and Des were a thing. But I just think it would be so interesting if, like, he has tried really hard to move on while the rest of the town is still stuck in the past, and, like, them all having to deal with that. I think would be an interesting twist, as opposed to like, no, he's never gotten over Des, and now he's trying to bring her back, blah 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 blah. Let's do a switcheroo on it. A switcheroo. Chris, be forced to contend with what you're doing might not be in everybody's best interest. I know, Chris, you'll have to deal with it even more. He definitely wasn't dealing with it well with Sans and Toriel. Heck, how would Asgore deal with it? Especially if he's on team, oh, I'll figure out what happened to Des, and I'll figure out what happened to Des and bring her back, and then my son will have his girlfriend back and be happy, and, oh no. What if you assumed the wrong things about your children because you don't talk to them, Asgore? Like, Toriel at least feels like she's tried to get through to Chris, and it has not worked, so she's kind of just stopped trying after it didn't work for so long. But I kind of wonder how much Asgore has, like, even tried to connect with Chris and whatever they're going through, instead of just assuming, well, if I fix everything, then there will be no problems. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people have landed, is that Asriel's in cahoots with the Knight. And that could be interesting. I think my preference would be, I think it'd be really interesting if he had gone the opposite direction. And, like, yeah, he, like, desperately missed Des and stuff. Like, that, she was his first girlfriend and all that stuff. But what if he has actually tried to mature and move on, decided, you know, I can't keep mourning her forever, I have to go live my life. And, he's moved on, and then everybody else hasn't, and they've all expected that he won't move on either. I think that could make some really interesting conflict. And it certainly could be the other way, where, like, he hasn't moved on, and he's also trying to bring her back, kind of thing. But considering we do have a good chunk of people that are in the you know, Team Past camp of, oh, if we just bring things back to the way they were, that'll fix everything. I'm pretty sure that's what's driving, like, Chris's self-destruction. Then it'd be neat to have to contend with, you know, especially if they're doing, oh, we have to do this for Asriel's sake, because he was, you know, devastated when that bad thing happened to Des. He was, you know, totally crushed by it. So we have to do it for his sake. And then they never really thought to follow up with him on, do you have to actually do that? Or have you just been assuming that this whole time? And then being like, uh-oh. We were not actually in tune with what our kids wanted. Oh, that would be devastating. I think that would totally break Toriel if somebody took Chris from her. I think she would be absolutely wrecked. I think she would be, yeah, absolutely wrecked over that. She is trying really hard with Chris. I think she's hit a wall with Chris, because Chris will not reciprocate and open up to her about it. But I think she's certainly tried. She knows something is wrong with them. And especially if Carol is the one that's kind of, you know, encouraging Chris's martyrdom. It's like, yep, you promised you would help fix what's gone wrong, Chris. Yeah, that'll mean you lose your life, but, you know, it's all for the saving the world and saving this person you love, etc., etc. I think if Toriel knew about that, she would throw hands with Carol. I think they would, like, get into a serious fight about it. I can't help feeling like, why is Toriel being kept out of the loop so badly with this? And that it would be a really bad thing if Toriel knew to what extent Chris was involved in, like, their religion kind of thing. That would be so awkward. I don't even think Chris would enjoy that. I think Chris would be really upset if that happened. Because I don't think they like Carol either. The very thing they think when, you know, Carol touches their shoulder is it felt like ice on your shoulder. This is a doom that is hanging over them now. So having to live with Carol, oh, that would, I think that would actually mess up Chris quite a bit. Which, who knows why, you know, if Chris is a part of her plan, why Carol doesn't keep Chris on a bit of a tighter leash. And it would be deeply awkward with Noelle, yeah. Deeply awkward. Yep. Chris is in a bad situation. Is it hometown exclusive? Maybe. I think if it exists outside of hometown, it is not a majority religion at all. It is it's practically like a small little cult thing. Like maybe an offshoot of, you know, a more centralized normal religion kind of thing. I don't think it was. If it does exist outside of hometown, it does not have a big presence. It does not seem to be the typical religion. I mean, maybe. I don't know. We saw no sign of those if there were security cameras, even when we were, like, you know, sussing our way through the vents. Yeah, a lot of the town is there, but not the whole town. Although, man, I would have thought that Monster Kid wouldn't be there, because it seems like Monster Kid is, like, regular old Christianity. But, no, Monster Kid was at church, too. I'm like, why are you wearing a cross on your shirt, Monster Kid? I mean, like, if the soul's going through the inner workings of the Carol house, of, you know, the holiday house, I feel like there would be some sign of that there's cameras somewhere. Monster Kid is Swiss. Okay. Decent explanation for that, I guess. Oh, Chris, this is just about my Swiss heritage. Who is this Jesus fellow? Chris is like, I don't know. I wouldn't grow up with that. She's definitely very interested in the soul. That is her primary focus. But I don't know if she can see or understand anything that the soul does. Otherwise, I think she would have had something to say about the soul being like, boop ba doop ba doop, I'm gonna traipse off through the house and check in on all this other stuff. The soul, I think, to Chris and Carol and all that stuff is basically a kind of dangerous, unwieldy tool. Kind of a blowtorch, basically. Like, this can be extremely useful for our certain purposes, but if you don't wear the proper equipment for this, if you aren't careful, you're gonna burn yourself, kind of thing. Meanwhile, Susie gets a hold of it, and she's just like, this is made to create fire. I am burning everything down. This is why I think if Susie gets the soul, it's not going to play out the same way as with Chris at all. This is not going to be a situation where, oh, we have to control Susie like the way we do Chris. I think it would play out pretty differently. If there's a camera... Oh, that would be terrible if there was a camera in Chris's room. Ooh. But then again, Chris removes the soul on their own in their own room all the time. So I don't think they're worried about that. I think we'd have seen some sign of it. Maybe something on Chris's phone. Although they do remove their contacts from the phone before the player can take a look at them. Nobody's on my phone, nobody. I don't think it would be necessarily interactive cutscene. I think it'll basically just the mechanics of the game will change. Like, there will still be game to be played, but Susie's like, we're not doing this the way that this was before. This, like, I am still, you know, the one ultimately calling the shots here. But there was a sense of, like, I don't know, maybe, like, mechanics breaking across the board sort of thing. I think that's why that would be really interesting. Like, we've, you know, built up the game so far with this set of rules for how the soul works. And, you know, what we're capable of doing, what we're not capable of doing. And I think it would be really interesting if, again, using the metaphor of the soul as a blowtorch that is trying to be carefully used by Chris to obtain certain means. And then Susie gets her hands on the blowtorch and is basically like, I am burning everything down. Like, how would that manifest as, like, gameplay? I think that could do some really interesting things. She put a tracking device in their phone. Oh no. That's the garbage noise we keep hearing. Yeah, she's already kind of like altering the mechanics as she wants. Like, why do we have to wait for Chris to act? We're just gonna do it. So I could see that being pushed even more in like crazier ways. Like, I decided we're clipping through the wall, so we're gonna clip through the wall now. Bye. Oh, you're playing our world as a video game? Well, I'm turning on no clipping and infinite ammo and whatever. You don't have to build up TP anymore. We just have it. I decide this. Skateboard game cheat. Not anymore gasters. We skateboard by. Meow. Gaster's like, fascinating. She's unlocked debug mode. There's no stopping her now. He's like, yeah, so I gave myself infinite money and infinite health. I'm tired of this. Also, now we can jump. What do you mean you couldn't jump in this game? Now we have jumping powers. Now we can jump. Exactly. Exactly. We will be the skateboard cheats. Oh, that would be funny. It's a reverse Uno situation. You can't make a decision. You can make a non-decision, though. I just think it'd be neat. We could do some really cool stuff. In the gameplay sense and in a meta sense. She's like, you ready, soul? We're going oob. We're gonna oob all over the place. Okay. Go stompy stompies. Stompies everywhere. like, what? This game is being played with, like, pixel graphics? Well, we're using vectors now or whatever. I've changed the genre. Get ready for point and click. No. Get ready for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. The possibilities are endless. Unlike with Carol here, whose possibilities are shrinking by the minute. As we're approaching the the scary parts. I don't know if we'll get to them today, but we'll find out. Probably not, but we'll see. Oh, excuse me. Bones crushed. Dialogue twice because it's still a Toby Fox game. Tries to switch, you know, mediums on us. We get to point and click in game. She's like, this takes too long. Too many clicks. We're changing genres again. The trousel is getting quieter by the second. No! No! Where are you, Papyrus? When will you come back to us? She does die in very scary circumstances in 1x5x. True. She's gonna die here. I don't think she's gonna die in canon. I don't think anybody's gonna die in canon personally, except for kind of Ralsei. I don't even think Rudy's gonna die. But this is a different situation in which many people die. In gruesome ways. I'm gonna put gore warnings on this part. Watch out for that. It's a mushy mess. I didn't look up what, like, you know, leg torn off, foot torn off looks like, because I don't really want to see that in real life. Yes, that's bone. She stomped pretty hard on her leg with, like, her giant hoof. 2016? No, I pronounce it that way too. I think most people say it that way, 2016. I'm not sure how you do the reverse, like 20x. Like if it's 202x, then I think it's like often 2020x. Time Stranger. Yeah, cartoon gore different from actual gore. Stuff's different. It's kind of like, you know, when you're watching a movie or playing a video game and a bunch of cars explode and it's like the coolest thing ever, and then you pass by a accident in real life and it just feels awful. Things be different in real life versus fiction. One teen. Yeah, basically I wanted Eldritchrune's time frame to be as vague as possible. Mostly because, like, the closer you set it into a time frame, the more it's like, that didn't exist in that time frame. You, like, you know, the more likely, like, your technology is to be wrong or your costumes are to be wrong, and it's like, I'm sorry, I don't really want to research this very thoroughly. This is a for funsies, big monsters eating people kind of story. So you're just gonna have to live with the costumes being inaccurate and the technology being inaccurate. No turning back now. Dun dun dun. I know. Where are the random jugs of gasoline to shoot? And having the occasional Slurpee. Slurpees, which definitely were a thing that existed in this time period. What would be the closest thing to a Slurpee of medieval times? Because I don't think they had ice very often. Like, unless you live somewhere cold enough and you broke off blocks of it, like, where do you get the ice? Not unless you're in China. They use ice a lot in China for drinks and stuff. So you need pudding? Well, usually you have like a warm pudding, not a cold pudding. I wonder how much food was like cold versus hot. It depends on like what you can preserve, because that makes a difference. What you have access to, what you can preserve, etc., etc. I think I gotta take my stretch break here. Maybe we'll do it. We'll do it after this panel. In primitive forms of shaved ice. Interesting. I guess that makes sense, especially since, like, you know, usually if you want stuff kept cold, keep it underground. Probably a bit harder if you don't have the space for that if you're poor, but they did have sherbet. Made of snow and juice. Did you have any kind of, like, cream with that? Because aren't usually sherbets like a... I feel like they're more of a kind of a dairy-based treat. Maybe I'm wrong? Maybe, or sorbet? I don't know. Yeah, you need the fruit juice. You need some ice. Had Shabbat, which is a prototype shaved ice. Interesting. Humans all throughout history are like, can we put fruit on an ice and eat it? Can we put meat in a bread and eat it? Can we ferment a drink and eat and drink it? We can! Let's do it! Yay! All humanity wants is fruit flavor on ice and delicious meat in bread. And we achieved it. We can eat nightshade for fun? Well, certain ones, I suppose. Tomatoes a nightshade, isn't it? One day everybody will drink their fruit. With ice in it. Best things in life are simple. Worst things in life are being attacked by a 20-foot tall evil reindeer. Luckily, most of us don't have to worry about that. What do you mean the chicken sandwich wasn't thought until 1960? That sounds fake. That's meat and bread. Surely somebody has done that before. For a chicken sandwich. Come on. Alright, it is time for another stretch break. And for Carol, it's time for another bone break. Wah, wah, wah. And I'm sure, like, in the past, people probably had, like, beef and lamb and goat more often than they had chicken, but people probably had chicken. You probably would have had to put chicken into a bread. I refuse to believe that chicken in a bread was not invented until the 60s. That's too wild. It couldn't have been all pork and sheep. And beef. Exactly. We've been doing meat and bread since the dawn of time, but specifically, was that meat chicken? Did we have chicken and bread? Of course, we've done various other animals. We've done, cows and pigs and goats and sheep, which is what most people keep or have kept for a lot of history. But chicken, people have kept chickens for a long time. Surely. Oh, that's a bit of a stretch for a sex joke. Beavers were considered fish. Is that because they were in the water, and I guess anything in the water is now a fish? Then again, our modern, classification for fish isn't any good either. Fish don't really exist. At least not in a meaningful way. The earliest record of chicken sandwich we had was from like 1840. See, that makes more sense. I figured that would be longer, but... chicken between bread. Or like coronation chicken. I've had some of that at like a tea thing once. That's chicken and bread. That must have been around much longer. How could fish be real if chicken sandwiches aren't real? Chicken, the fish of the land. Or something. I'll go for a chicken sandwich. I did have burger yesterday. Actually, no chicken yesterday. I usually have chicken, but we went to a restaurant during the convention, and I asked for a Caesar salad with chicken on it, and they gave me a Caesar salad with salmon on it. And I was like, oh, this is supposed to be chicken. And they're like, oh, we can take it back. And I was like, no, I'm really hungry, and I also like salmon, so I'm just gonna keep the salmon on the salad. It's fine. But I didn't get any chicken. No chickens. Breaded chicken within the 10th centuries. Yeah, that makes sense. That's logic, I would say. I'm much more a chicken person than anything else, but I do like some fish. I do like salmon. Salmon's good. I like me some salmon. I like me some cod. I like some mahi-mahi. I like fish tacos. And I like baked salmon, so I like some salmon. I like some fish. The rooster was not impressed by your chicken impression. Had rooster places to be. He was on his way to like a British farm to help the hens there learn how to fly so they wouldn't get baked into chicken pies. By the way, you should watch the movie Chicken Run. It's very good. That was another movie we watched a bunch when I was younger. Because love me some Aardman animation. Even though, like a lot of Aardman animations, it has one of those things that scare me, which is people trapped in a big scary machine. I don't know about the sequel. Alright, I'll be right back for one more stretch, and we'll do one more session. back for one more session. It did come out. I haven't seen it. I don't know how you would do a sequel to Chicken Run. I feel like it was pretty well set up for the ending there. They already escaped from the farm. They don't need to go back for it or anything. Carol is not happy. She's kind of more resigned. When you get to a point where it's like, I am not escaping the big 20-foot tall, reindeer. No regrets. At least not on Noelle's part necessarily. Hmm? I don't think they have personal self-destructive devices in vaguely medieval Europe. I don't think those existed. It's not that hard to escape if you use your arms. Her foot is like broken off. She's gonna have to crawl. Yeah, bombs aren't a thing. Is that a thing in Predator society? If you, are in too bad of a scrape, you can just blow yourself up for your Predator society? There are things apparently katanas. When is that going to come into play? When is she going to use those katanas? And not in Eldritchrune, she doesn't have them here. But in canon. Oh, okay. I have not seen any of the Predator films. Although I heard the more recent one was pretty fun. The one that just focuses on, the kind of young, runty Predator who gets, dropped off on, a really hostile planet and has to, get by with a, human android or something like that. And it's kind of like a Banjo-Kazooie movie with the Predator. But then the little Predator runt gets to prove how cool he is. Yeah, that was the Predator Badlands. Yeah, I could see you can do some really interesting stuff, in the Predator universe, as long as you take it seriously and then be like, okay, what would this kind of, society actually function like, sort of thing. Yeah, and also the Prey one where it's the Native American girl. Those both sound interesting. I'm sure the first Predator movie is pretty good. At least fun. Those movies don't get as popular as they do if they're, not at least fun and interesting. But in terms of this would be an interesting premise to explore. Okay, the Native American girl versus, a different Predator. That sounds cool. The Predator runt having to get by on a planet of killer aliens. That sounds pretty neat. Yeah. And even then, I guess it's because, the Predators have more of a society than, the Xenomorphs. The Xenomorphs just kind of seem like creatures. Maybe I don't know enough about Xenomorphs. Maybe they do have a society. But I always got the impression the Xenomorphs were kind of more just you know, basically big alien bugs that just want to propagate and, you know, expand. And they're very scary. I see. Yeah, the xenomorphs are more like less of a species and more of just, yeah, again, a spreading social network, I guess. Insect society, yeah. Not really interested in like culture or anything like that, just interested in spreading as far as they can. Whereas the predator society seems like they have like a society with rules and culture and stuff like that. That's what Prometheus presents them as? Okay. So many franchises from the 80s that I'm not familiar with. And people are like, oh, this thing happened with this franchise. I'm like, okay. I don't know much about that, but trust you on that. I did see the first Alien movie, though. I haven't seen Aliens, but I saw the first Alien movie, and it was very good and very scary. That was during my month of I'm going to watch, like, 30 classic films. I'm going to try and watch a classic film every day. And that was one that was on my list. I need to do that again. I need to do, like, a, you know, month of, like, let's watch a bunch of classic films and a variety of genres and stuff like that, and I'll think about them. I just need access to a bunch of places where I can find a bunch of classic films. Figure out why do I like this film? Why do I not like this film? I think there were like a couple of foreign ones in there, but it was mostly a variety of American films. The androids have white glooby insides. You never glooby. I'll copy the aesthetics of the video game. Well, if it works, I guess, but yeah. Meh. Yeah, say Rudy is going to be traumatized for the rest of his life. However that looks is a whole nother issue, though. That's a different situation. And Carol not long for the world either. I wonder how things will go with her in canon, since she's, you know, probably not going to be dying or anything. Carol, are you going to have to be confronted with, you know, the inevitable future and the fact that it is wrong to, you know, coerce kids into being martyrs? Will you learn to let your children go and let them grow up to be their own people? Will you release your iron grip on the past? No Ripley clone? Too bad. Actually, that's I think that's part of her hair too, so put that there. What's Predator from the second film? I just hope we save Death. I want us to be able to save Death. Since we couldn't do it with Asriel and Undertale, please let us do that with Death at least. I know it could go either way. Oh, there's a break in here. Where's the break? Also, I forgot Rudy down there. I gotta make sure I fill him in. Where's the break? Hello? Oh, there it is. It's on the foot. At least she didn't get stuck as a flower. She just got stuck as whatever the heck the knight is. Horror, like a corpse thing. Big, scary darkness creature. Which, to be fair, looks kick-ass. And has considerable power. Probably a bit more than a flower does. Even a scary flower like Flowey. Huh. I think Carol is definitely trying to manipulate circumstances, the circumstances of the prophecy towards her own ends. But it would be extremely interesting if she basically created Des as the knight, especially if this was done in desperation in order to save Des from death otherwise. And if maybe that thought isn't weighing on both of them, I think that'd be pretty cool. Do you think people will be mad if we see it? I don't know. I mean, I would figure that it's probably actually not going to be that far off from what people have imagined, the same way that Carol actually wasn't that far off from what people imagined. Because we've already gotten a few hints as to, like, you know, what she might look like or, you know, dress like, just based on what's in her closet. And what are her interests, stuff like that. Saw from a little silhouette. I'm like, okay, that's, you know, how big she is, stuff like that. You know, I don't think being the knight is a good situation to be in for Des. Not at all. But at least she's mobile. At least she has limbs. Something Flowey would probably appreciate having again. Or we could just do what we did in Outer Tail, I guess, and, you know, perfect ending, everyone saved, yay! Yeah, I think that would be the one big surprise with her, is that if Des did not look as much like Rudy as people usually paint her as. You give her the darker fur, the maybe colored antlers, stuff like that. Asriel and Des would not get along. Well, they did in Deltarune. Undertale Asriel. I like how people have basically just been shipping Undertale Asriel with, you know, Knight Des in lieu of, like, having designs for either of them. At least for Asriel, you know, we don't have a Deltarune design for him yet. Hopefully we'll get it soon, but we don't have it yet. And then we don't have we have, you know, Death Knight, but we don't know what she looked like normally. So we'll split the difference and put, you know, God of Hyperdeath Asriel with Knight Des, and there we go. We did it. We solved it. To be fair, they do both look kick-ass together, so I can't be mad about that. I understand it. I get it. Because basically your only other option is just, like, make up what Des and Asriel and Deltarune look like, and that is totally fair. I've done it multiple times myself. And it's fun. I feel like my design for Des changes, like, every time. Yeah, like, oh no. Poor Tenna. At least we fixed him. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if Carol has changed in her appearance at all since Des's disappearance. But I could totally see a scenario where basically Des was made into the night to try and save her, yeah. Yep, the knight has red damage numbers. That definitely is. She got them lines on her face. Ugh. The way she talks too, it's just like, ooh, ugh. It all gives the impression of bad things have happened here. That would be interesting. I think I've seen some fan art of that too, of like basically how Carol has changed over the years. And now she is way icier and colder, just in color palette, in her expression, and in everything than she might have been in the past. She has changed for the worse. How else is she gonna keep doing her women's wrongs? She should be allowed to do her women's wrongs. Hooray! I did see a little bit of the data mine third board, yeah. That was supposed to take place in the city. I mean, heck, you see some of it in that part of Sword Root, too. I'm kind of glad it was scrapped. I think I would have gotten really tired if we had to do a third board and all that. So, I think Toby made the right call there. Yeah, maybe Rudy's absence is making it worse. Even though I'm like, Carol, why are you not visiting your husband in the hospital? Is this like a more of a sense of urgency, I guess, to your plan? It's like, oh, if we remake the world with the Roaring, then he won't be sick anymore. It's just kind of weird how Asgore is being more attentive to like Rudy's needs than Carol is. She's always too busy. She's always too busy. Yeah, she was at least bearable, but she's now it seems like, yeah, it is not a good thing that Noelle is literally afraid of her, is afraid to like confront her about anything. And Rudy's like, I have to get out of here, not just for my health, but because if I don't, like, home is going to be so much worse for Noelle. She has suitcases to bisect. Who is that guy? Diaper briefs guy. What are you doing there? I like to imagine he was just like there, and she's like, I have stuff to do, and she just like whips out a katana and cuts his briefcase in half and steps over him and goes on to work. And he's just lying there the whole time. The mayor killed my katana with a briefcase. It's fine. I voted for this. Should the mayor be allowed to cut people's suitcases with people's briefcases with his katana? Yes, no. Yeah. It was interesting, the little glimpses we got into board 3. I think in a different situation it would have been very fun for us to play board 3. Just in the moment, just chapter 3 already felt very long because just if you get S rank, you also have to do the sword root stuff, and that pretty much doubles the length of the game. So doing that so many times over would have been exhausting. Who's one of the brand new monsters outside of classmates? Like, all of the holidays are new, but who else is new? Oh, the briefcase guy. Right. Briefcase guy is new. Milk Looker is new. We haven't seen Milk Looker before. Or the little dancing kid in the rain. Who else is a new one? Yeah, briefcase guy is new. Rain dancer is new. Milk Looker is new. I'm the freak that looks at all the milk. You and your freak family. Yeah, that's true. With board 3 being that and backstage, it's a lot to do. Yeah, the Kattenheimers, that's a bit of a gray area. Because Caddy already existed. And we just expanded that out to more of her family. Which I wonder what will happen with that. Because they seem to be involved in stuff too. All the families are involved in stuff. So many family business things. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody else who's new. We're back to board 3. Oh, that's weird. Sword 3 in the middle of board 3? Oh, that's weird. That would have been so much back and forth stuff. I can't remember all the plot stuff they were going to do in board 3, especially since they kind of like already did all the stuff with, you know, El Nino, La Nino in board 2. Designing games is hard. Yeah, TV World composed early on. It's kind of interesting how like the whole TV World area feels like that should have been like, you know, the intro area for chapter 3, and instead it was pretty much towards the end. After you played all the Zelda. You gotta play all your Zelda first. And the first time I played the sword route, the part where, like, you know, Chris gets the sword and then you have to kill Susie and Rouse in order to proceed, you know, get enough experience to proceed. I didn't even realize I did that at first, because right after you get the sword, it spawns you right next to the barriers to break through. And me being like, oh, I can use this to go through the barrier, I just kind of lashed out and hit him, not realizing that, like, Susie and Rouse basically spawn on top of you. And it immediately killed them both, and I got through, and then I walked through, and I was like, wait, where's Susie and Rouse? Wait, where are they? Where'd they go? And then I realized, oh no, I killed them! Why doesn't TV World playing during battles? The battle music is kind of all over the place in chapter 3, because we got, you know, Rude Buster, and then Ruder Buster, and then Vapor Buster, and just, it's all over. We get to play Legend of Susie. Legend of, I'm gonna pick pots up and throw them at things. Heck yeah. Susie obtained the power croissant. I like how if you go in to pick up the power croissant first, Susie's like, no, that's mine, and then she grabs it from you and picks it up herself. Yeah, I was so confused about that part, because I was like, why is this giving off Weird Root vibes? I don't have any Weird Root files. I never played Weird Root, so I'm like, I know this is in the Weird Root, so why is it here? What's going on? What's going on? I said, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I felt very nervous. As soon as you realized, oh, you have to kill the monsters in the sword route, I was like, I don't like the sound of that. Why do we have to do that? It took me forever to figure out, like, the tree thing and all that stuff. Yeah, even that was like heebie-jeebies, yeah, for sure. As soon as it did like the "you got the ice key" and then played the jingle, I was like, oh no. That doesn't sound good at all. Speaking of not good at all, Carol in trouble. I don't know if I'll be able to get to the next page today. This might be where we stop. Right before the death stuff. Noelle's gotta get her protein. Big deers will eat a meat sometimes too. And at least one non-sword route, because I got to see the Pip and Ram dialogue. Oh yeah, I think I missed all that. Interesting. Does her dress have protein? It's got fiber. Probably. And that counts. Oh yeah, I'm definitely one of those beeline straight to the S rank room kind of things. I'm not super good at doing all the exploration. I have to have somebody else get to that and then come back and be like, go here and do this. And I was like, oh, I missed that. The game tells me to do a thing and I'm like, okay, here I go. I don't know if the dress has that much fiber. I mean, maybe a lot, but no more than any other clothes. It depends on what they were made out of. There's a... Where's the breaks gonna happen here? Probably more protein than fiber. Yeah, I feel like when the first time I played through Chapter 3, I missed so much stuff. Even though it took me a long time to get through things. Because I got stuck on a lot of stuff in the sword route. I died a lot in the dungeon, the shelter dungeon, whatever it is. Before you go fight Eram. I died there a lot. I had to start over and over. I was not good with it. Her pointies. Pointy bits. I might be able to do it right here at the end. I'm just gonna finish this panel and then we'll call it a day. So it depends on the doodle request. What were you thinking? We can probably squeeze in one more as like our last thing. Because I don't think I'm gonna be able to get to the next page today. I can probably squeeze in one more thing if you desire. I'll do it quick. I'll do it quickity splickety. Before Carol gets chomped. Gets crunched. Like a big bag of chips. She's about to be eaten. She is. That's next page. I can do another T-Girl Azzy. It might be a bit much to do 2 characters at once. But I can probably do one character. Studying the anatomy of eldritch deer from the inside. You can do it, but only once. Alright, gotta do that. Do all the fills for it. Okay. I can show next page if you want. Although, we won't be able to get to actually fills today. We'll probably do it next week, though. If we don't do backgrounds instead. As always, there's more backgrounds to do as well. Oh, I missed part of her antler. Of course I did. I always miss that. Show? Okay, that's the gory page. Wild West T-Row Azrael optional. Can you send me reference again? If you haven't already done that. Please send me another ref. Yep, push the limit. So she got chomped. She got chomped by the big deer. We'll get to that again if we don't do backgrounds next time. We'll get to this next time. Big chomps, the gory part. Rudy definitely getting traumatized. But okay, we will pop on over to the page and see about doodles. Western theme. Okay, let's see. I remember your Undertale yellow. Alright, let's see if we can't do this. Oh. On this page, here we go. Does Carol recommend getting chomped by deer? No. That is not recommended. Alright, let's put her over on this side just so. Different page. Different side of the page. Carol is the chomped. True. I remember your killed Toriel. No, this isn't Toriel, this is Carol. This is Carol. Oh, I did. Yes, I did kill Toriel on my first playthrough of Undertale. That's true. I did. I did not want to do it. It was so sad. But I did not reset because I didn't really think about that being a thing. No, Carol's not Azzy. Yes, I did kill Toriel on my first playthrough, and I was very sad about it. I'm going to make this one smaller again. Yeah, I was confused as to be like, wait, you killed Toriel and Eldritchrune? I'm like, no, I haven't. I haven't. Oh, she's wearing gloves. Okay. Doing big. Hope I do this dress right. I mean, that is why people sometimes theorize that we could get a trans Azrael story, because there's some interesting stuff going on there regarding Azrael's, or not Azrael, Ralsei, sorry. Regarding Ralsei's you know, interest in girly things, and ribbons and stuff like that. So there could potentially be some interesting stories there. But I do find it funny how, like, I'm trying to remember. Sorry if I get this dress wrong. I'm trying to work off the... Actually, I'm going to put the leg back a bit. It's like a flowery dress. That's fun. Yeah, especially if Rousey has like a lot of relationships with Chris in terms of like you know what Chris wanted to be, then the gender expression being part of that could be really interesting. Yeah, this is a fun dress. I have to make her a little smaller. At least she's wasn't super duper short this time. Oh yeah, I realized there was another flower up here. I forgot. Thank you. Oh wait, no, it's kind of more down by the ear. Okay. Oh, curly. Cuteness. Cute. Oh yes, we'll pop over to that. It's gonna make that a little bit smaller. Put her right there. Okay, about same size. Here is a Tio again. That one's finished. Save. Okay. We're filling out this page nice and quick like. I'm happy about that. It'll be done before we know it. Yay! Okay, cool. Alright, I guess we're about a third of the way through the page. So always more for this next time. Yeah, all kinds of cute characters we've gotten to add. It's again interesting choices every page, so I'm happy with what we've got. And Carol's not happy with what we got, and we can go back to a less gruesome page if you want. But either way, I'd say it's time for me to stop the stream for a bit, and I gotta go get some lunch. They're all trying to get Slurpee. It's like, you are the Slurpee now. You don't have Slurpees? Well, we can change that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming to the stream. It's been fun, as always, doing these pages with you and doing requests and all that stuff. There will be more Eldritchrune, I'm sure, next week. Again, I'll either do more fills for this part, or we'll go back and do some backgrounds for another part. Depends on what I'm doing, because I will not have enough for the next regular comic to work on, unfortunately, so it'll be more ending stuff. And also on Friday, we'll start Love Buster, the Susie dating game, so that'll be fun. Probably won't take that many sessions to get through it, but I'll finally start that. But yeah, there's more stuff on the way. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It's nice and sunny out, so I gotta go get some sun myself. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. I always appreciate you being here. Great bye. It's even better than goodbye. We gotta start using that more often. Anyways, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you again. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Alrighty. Bye-bye.